let's continue. Right. So once again, colleagues, welcome to video 3 of our orientation session for AUI 4861 in the 2025 academic year. So we were busy discussing about this question of the second assignment for the 2024 academic year. And I previously explained the composition of the governing body, or what they call the board of directors. It has specifically pointed out or highlighted this particular part of the King 4 report to say that is what you need to know. So from paragraph 1, under principle 7, paragraph 1, all the way to paragraph 8 of that particular principle, that is the one that is pertinent to regarding to the composition of the governing body. So now let's go in the scenario to identify those instances of non-adherence, because now you have this as your blueprint, right? As your blueprint, because even as you read through the scenario, trust me, you'll be able to pick it up to say, okay, I think this was violated, or I think this was violated, or I think this aspect of the composition of the audit committee, composition of the governing body was violated. So let's do it practically now. So we're going to read the scenario together, and first time, what you do, and this is just a tip, when you go through a scenario, the first time as you read through it, don't write anything. Don't write anything. Just write down what you need or what you can, just for the sole purpose of, in fact, just read through it so that you gain what I call background understanding of what is going on. That's the so you can do that within the next 2 minutes, 3 minutes of getting the question. What I'm giving you is also an exam strategy, by the way. So that's what you do the first time. Second time, as you go through the question, that's when you can then start to think, okay, this is where I'm going to get my problem areas, or this is where I'm going to get, you know, I don't know, whatever it is you want to note from the question. So like, as I've done here already, so the first paragraph, I already denoted this as background information. And then, of course, the rest of these other pointers are my problem areas. So without further ado, let's go through the scenario. So construction is one of the largest industries globally and is currently transforming. Delta Development Construction Limited, hereafter referred to as Delta Development, is a company that specializes in renting out construction tools to developers. What trade is this, colleagues?
Is it not construction? You mean the sector? I'm not sure what's the question.
It is construction. I just wanted to test you. All right, so it's construction sector, right? That's the trade, right? Now, so that's background information, really, according to me, because it's just them telling me who the client is, what this client specializes with, what trades they are in, right? And so let's continue. Board and other committees composition. So now this already is a hint for my problem area to do with question 1A. Why? Because they're talking about the board and other committees. So I need to find something that has to do with the board before I begin to touch about other committees anyways. So while checking the integrated reports of the company, you came across the company's disclosure on the JSE listed composition of the governing body and its committees. From the various notes and commentaries on the annual report, you were able to extract the following information relating to the governing body. Again, this is just building block to my problem area. That's how I'll pick that, right? So now the following list consists of the board of directors. So in other words, this is what makes up the governing structure. So many to say, as I go through the list of these individuals, I'm able to at least gain light regarding to the composition of the governing structure that is in place. So the first one, first bullet point speaks about Tebuho Mamba, who happened to be a non-executive chairperson and retired CEO of Delta Development for 2 years. And this person holds a Master's of Science in Mechanical Engineering. So do you see anything wrong regarding to the composition of the governing body regarding to that individual? Definitely there is something wrong. Remember, I told you that a chairperson of the governing body has to be appointed. But that person has to be an independent, non-executive director. Right? I did point it out about that. Whereas these other points that you see, colleagues, they are just really to do with what makes up a director not to be independent and stuff like that. That's what most of these other pointers are dealing with. But otherwise, as part of your composition, the chairperson of the board is somebody that is, sorry, I forgot to point this one out to you, but definitely it has to be an independent, non-executive director. So if I'm looking at that individual that they've appointed, he's simply a non-executive chairperson. Is there anything about the independency pointed out there? None. So that's why you notice I pinpointed this as a problem area. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Now, can I ask a question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Is he not independent because he's a retired CEO of the same company?
Definitely, that's another element. That's another element. Yeah, it's because he's a retired CEO who is not yet fully satisfied that the 3 years tenure for him to.
Oh, okay. So it's 3 years, ne?
Yes, it's 3 years. So Yenad
Okay.
recently came out of retirement as a CEO for 2 years.
So he's still dependent in this
Yes.
company.
So he actually is not.
Okay.
Yeah. Clearly,
Okay.
he's not independent. Yes. Right. So far so good.
Yeah, I'm good on my side. Thanks.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yep. Good.
And then, but there's also some notes, that they gave us. We're gonna go through them. So before we even get to audit committee, the moment I begin to touch about audit committee, now we are dealing with the question 1B. But everything else above, it's really entailing to question 1A. So let's look at Victoria Lovu. It's the CEO, has an MBA. We'll check if there's anything mentioned about Victoria Lovu here. But one thing I can already see, for the fact that they have a CEO as part of their governing body or as part of their board of directors, it means they've complied with the King 4 report recommendation. And let's see, Karabo Modisha is the chief financial officer. Yes, they've adhered. Let me show you why I'm saying they've adhered to that. It's because of this paragraph. Let me show that to you. You see where it says, paragraph 3, the chief executive officer and at least one other executive should be appointed to the board. Not JSE regulations require that a financial director be appointed. So not only is it just an issue of recommendations according to the King 4, but in this case, it's also as a way of adhering to the JSE requirements for them to have a chief financial officer being part of the board members along with the CEO. But of course, unless otherwise there's other details here, but for now, I can say to a certain extent that there's nothing wrong here. That's why you notice I did not put any problem area around these two individuals for now. And if you go to Benjamin Sitobo, he's an operations director, mechanical engineer. Nothing really said about this individual, even here, because I think we'll go through this anyways. So, and then we see Sean Reddy, the human resource director. How many executive directors do we have so far? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Marketing director, that's 5 executive directors. How many non-executive directors do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. But what does the King 4 report recommendation state? The board should have a majority of what? Non-executive directors. And the majority of whom should be what? Independent. Meaning to say the major number or the highest number of directors that should be in the governing structures, non-executive directors, and preferably the independent non-executive directors. So by the moment we are seeing them, the opposite, like in this case, we have more executive directors, clearly that's going against the recommendations of the King 4 report. I'm just trying to show it to you clearly as we align it to what is portrayed in the King 4. Can you see that, colleagues?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Right. And then we have another individual there. Let's see. Okay, so these are all executive directors. Let me see something about these non-executive directors. Mark Leroux, MBA, Daniel Crompton, CA, SA. Okay, how many chartered accountants do we have? We have about 2. So it's a mixture of different skills. Okay, and then let's check in terms of diversity. I believe this female, probably male. Okay, but let's check on the notes as well and see what is happening. So the board of directors as a whole, what do? They nominate, they elect, and they appoint members of the governing body. We have a problem there. It's not all the members of the governing body that have to play the responsibility to nominate, elect, and appoint. It's not all of them. That's why there's what we call a nominations committee. So we have a problem. So this is a problem area to note. And then number 2, Daniel Crompton is also a non-executive. Yes.
Before you move on.
Yes.
Okay, what's the issue there on
Right.
note number 1?
The issue is they're not adhering to the King 4 recommendation in terms of assigned responsibilities. Because the governing body corporately, because remember they're saying as a whole, they nominate. So if all of them nominate, it means now the nominations committee is not playing their part in this instance.
Can I also add?
Yes.
Okay.
It's also that each governing body have to have submitting body like a nomination, which includes a minimum of 3 board members. So really not everyone can elect, but those 3 members that are under the nomination committee can nominate.
Yes. That's very correct.
Okay, thanks.
That's very correct. Thank you so much for that contribution. And then let's see another thing here. Okay, so Daniel Control is also a non-executive director of Sigma Pty Limited, which is a major customer of Delta Development. So Daniel Crompton, let me see who is Daniel Crompton. Okay, it's one of the non-executive directors. So, but just by telling you this, what they are really just trying to imply is the fact that that individual is not independent. Does it make sense?
Yes.
He's not independent because he's a related party to one of the major customers of Delta Development. So you need to point out something about that. Hence, I pinpointed this as a problem area as well. And then note number 3, Abigail Sihlobo, sister of Benjamin Sihlobo. Okay, again, that's a related party relationship right there. Is a director in a small auditing firm. Okay, the company has 3 board committees, namely, okay, so now this is just them explaining the different board committees that we're going to come across here. So this, you see this statement, guys, this is just a building block toward these board committee structures that they have. So I have about 3 board committees, namely audit committee, remuneration committee, and the social and ethics committee. So, but remember, what does the King 4 report recommends? According to principle 8, it recommends 8 distinct board committees, right? It recommends 8 distinct board committees. Okay, so I think with what I've explained so far, you can see where the problem areas are regarding to the what is this? To the governing structure, right? So what I also then did, this was just okay, just explaining the governing structure. So just as a way to guide how you could have answered this to say, what is the king for recommend? So the point of debate could have been to ask yourself, what is the recommendation of the king for report that has been violated in the context of what you are provided with? So that, of course, falls between principles 6 to principles 8 of the king for report. And then you identify the instances of non-adherence. So the first one that I could have maybe pointed out to you guys, it's pertaining to the first problem area. If you look into the document that I've shared with you guys, if you can now open it, I don't know if I can do that here. Yeah, I can. Just want to quickly open it. Just to quickly take you through the summary of what I already wrote down there. So let me quickly open that. It may allow me to close a few documents here. Close the wrong one, but it's fine. Okay, let's close this one and that one, because we don't really need them for this question. All right, so what I did is when I was given the guide, this is what I portrayed, right? So in the first column, like I mentioned earlier, this is where you point out the instant, the number of the instant that you've identified. And then on the other columns, this is where you indicate the king for recommendation that has been violated. And then on the other side, this is where you explain the instance of non-adherence. So like, for instance, with regards to the CEO, I pointed out that in terms of principle 7 of the king for report, the chief executive officer should not be the chairperson. The CEO cannot be categorized as a non-executive officer. And a former CEO should not be elected as chairperson until 3 complete years have passed since the CEO vacated his position. So in other words, until the 3 years tenure from retirement have lapsed. So now if you look at the issue of non-adherence, is to say that the current chairperson, specifically Teboho Mamba, the governing body of Delta Development, is not eligible for the position of chairperson. Why? Since his tenure from retirement as CEO of Delta is only 2 years, and he may not be able to perform his duties objectively in this instance. Does it make sense, colleagues?
Yes. Yes, it's clear.
Okay. I'll also provide you with the actual memo from your lecturer. This doesn't diverge from what I've given you here. Right. And then the second one, it was about the board should consider establishing a nominations committee to oversee the process of nominating, electing, and appointing directors, succession planning in respect of directors, evaluations of performance of the board. It's part of the recommendations. So now there's quite a number of instances of non-adherence regarding to that. So number one, it appears that there's no nominations committee established within Delta to perform the function to oversee the process to nominate and appointing suitable candidates to the governing structure at Delta. And number two, it also appears that there's no succession planning in place to ensure that competent directors are maintained and that training ground for future directors set in place. And then furthermore, it appears that there's no any form of performance appraisal or performance evaluations of directors' performance output in regards to their duties. Hence, the principle for accountability in this instance is not adhered to. Right. So those are some of the pointers that I put across. Then look, the list goes on and on and on. I may not read entirely every point per se, but I was just trying to portray to you how you can, answer an essay-based question, from what approach or from what angle so that at the end of the day, you can be able to achieve your objective, right? And then another instance, let me just see if I pointed that one out. Okay, okay, because yeah, I mixed them anyways, because remember there was A and then there was B, so I combined them into one. So that's why you notice, yes, I'm also talking about what is this, the audit committee and stuff like that. But otherwise, other pointers you could have pointed out, coming back to our question, which is quite evident here. It's regard to the mixture in terms of the number of executive directors versus the number of non-executive directors. So that's a non-adherence to the King 4 report, which is specifically a violation of this principle that I've already pointed out, principle 7, paragraph 7 of principle 7. So the board should have a majority of non-executive directors, the majority of whom should be independent. So the board does not contain the right mix of executive directors. Why am I saying so? Because if you look at the number of executive directors, there's about there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 executive directors versus how many non-executive? It's just about 1. Okay, there are about 4 non-executive directors. So there's no mix of executive directors as compared to the number of non-executive directors, meaning to say that there might be an issue regarding to the balance of power and dissemination of authority in the company. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. All right. Another thing that I also want you guys to observe, right? Another thing that I also want you guys to observe is regards to the notes here, especially regarding to this guy, Daniel Crompton. So with regards to Daniel Crompton, he's definitely not an independent, as much as he's non-executive director. However, he's not independent owing to the related party relations that he has in Sigma Pty Limited, who happens to be a major customer to Delta Development. That's one of the things that you could have mentioned. So the key point really regarding to Daniel Crompton is the fact that he's not independent, simply because of the related party relationship. And then similar story with regards to Abigail. Yeah, both of them, they will not be independent. Why? Because they are related party in terms of brother and sister relations. So they would not be independent directors, as much as they are non-executive. Because if you look at Abigail is a non-executive director. Benjamin, however, Benjamin was not an executive, non-executive, is actually executive. So both of them would not be independent. And what's causing Abigail's independence to be impaired is the fact that she has a related party relationship to Benjamin. Right. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, regarding to this part A of the question. Are we together so far?
Yes.
Yes, we hear.
Part B. Or can I give you guys as homework for that one?
If it's homework, when are we going to do it? Next week?
Yeah, we'll do it next week. So what I would do is I think I can allow you guys the first class for free, the official class. I can allow you guys to attend it free, and then we'll discuss payments on the other classes if you choose to join the official classes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, for the purpose of time, I think I can give you that question as a homework, and then I'll discuss it with you in the first part of the first official lecture session for AUI 4861 next week. And then the other part, the part B of that lecture session, I'll be dealing with topic 1. I don't know if you guys have any questions with what we have discussed so far. Is everybody happy and comfortable with what we have addressed so far?
Yes.
Wonderful.
So
Yes,
I
we
just
are.
wanted to find out the official classes will begin next week.
Yes, they'll begin next week. Yes, they'll begin next.
Oh,
So yeah, I can allow people to attend it free for those that may have not yet enrolled with us officially for official classes throughout the duration of the academic year. So I think, yeah, for my side, colleagues, I think that would be it. I hope I added value to all of you.
Okay, thank you so much. You did on my side.
Yes, also on my side, you did. Yeah, it was quite informative. Yeah, it was a good session.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, it
thank you
was a
so
really,
much.
really good question. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
No, you're most welcome, colleagues. You're most welcome. So hoping to see you guys next week. And please try to attempt that homework, and then we'll discuss the rest of the other parts next week.
Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
I don't know if there's any questions.